Ladies and gentlemen, there are some fantastic Weakauras that can help you in almost every situation in WoW, so let's cover some of the most important ones right here, right now. Let go. So the first one I gotta bring up to you guys and highly recommend is the Dungeon Core Dispel Weakora Frame Glow. This is a real simple plug-and-play add-on that'll turn you into an absolute master at the spells and any removal of anything throughout any dungeon or raid in World of Warcraft. This is gonna work for every single class, every single spec, so no matter what you are, this thing's got you covered. What's really neat is it's even color coded for specific specs depending on what you're trying to remove. It's just something that if you bring this to your raid or your party, you're going to be noticed right away, and it's something that could just be totally taken off your plate and release some of that extra bandwidth so you can focus on other things. On top of this though, if you really want to go above and beyond, you can also go ahead and make a Mouseover macro for yourself, which you can actually just copy in the link below, and with these two combined, you're going to just turn into an absolute god when it comes to dispelling your buddies. The next one I want to talk about is your simple raid buff tracker, and it does just that. It tracks all your raid buffs for yourself, your party, and your raid, so your raid leader or anybody else doesn't really have to. Since we're talking about tracking Weakauras, we may as well stay on that trend and go ahead and pick yourself up the potion, racial abilities, and trinket trackers. Now, believe it or not, so many people I find leave their racial abilities just swept under the rug with everything else going on with their class and in their action bars. And with that being said, lining up your racial abilities, potions, and trinkets into your main cooldown window is going to be the biggest benefit to you. So having these all lined up on your screen in your little Weakora pack is going to be super nice to know when it's coming back off cooldown, if you should hold on to your cooldowns for a few more seconds and wait for that racial ability along with your next potion. It really is going to help you decide when you're going to just start popping off instead of just clicking things all willy-nilly. Next on our list is the Lust, Drums, and Battle Res trackers. Now I'm going to be honest, the Lust and the Drums you could probably do without, but what's really nice is having that Battle Res option. It's just an extra piece of information you can kind of provide to your raid in case there's any questions going on. You'll be there in the forefront ready to go with that information. Now the next one on my list, I gotta say it's kind of controversial. Some people love it, some people hate it, and that's the Dragon Riding UI Weakora. This thing's certainly not going to make or break your WoW experience, but it just shows a little bit more functionality on how you're flying, how much speed you have compared to the angle that you're flying at. It just delivers a lot more information in a very clean way in case you don't like the classic bubbled UI. Again, there's nothing to it. Plug and play, and hey, if you don't like it, get rid of it. At least you have the option there if you're interested. The next one on our list is very niche, but I find extremely important if you're raiding in Naruba Palace, specifically on the last boss, the Queen. And this is the Queen's Venom Nova Trigger Tracker. This is simply going to put a green circle on your character if you happen to have the responsibility of popping that bubble to get through the rings on that boss. If you're not one of the 6 people chosen to do that, this is really irrelevant to you, but it's just really nice to have for not only yourself so you can take care of what you need to, but if you need to call it out for the group, you pretty much have a guaranteed way to never screw this thing up. Now, this next one I want to talk about isn't really a Weakora, it's an add-on, but I wanted to bring it up to you anyways for shits and giggles, and that's the mini map that I use, and it's called Sexy Maps. I found that it's just a really pretty layout. It lets you see your coordinates, the time, you can adjust all that stuff in a very easy click of the button, or don't. Again, very plug and play. You can just set it up and leave it as is. Stock is fine, but you have different borders, you have different sizes. The whole thing is changeable. Go crazy. I just like it a hell of a lot better than the standard square mini map that comes with LVY. Now, the next Weakora I wanted to talk about is again very simple, but is an absolute banger, and I couldn't live life without it, and that's Queue Up Man. This is a super nice quality of life add-on, allowing your team to queue up to any raids or dungeons while you're in the group with them, and you don't have to click accept every single time. You could walk away, go grab a sandwich, do something else, and just have your party leader keep queuing up, and you'll just continuously accept without you having to click the button every single time. They also have the option in here to allow you to just auto accept group invites, which I don't know, I'm kind of on the fence with, but I mainly use it for the once you get into the party, your party leader could just spam keys and you don't have to just continuously be sitting at your keyboard waiting for those cues to pop. The next Weakora that I think is pretty widespread at this point is the Ultimate Mouse Cursor. And all this does is put a little ring around your mouse so you don't lose track of where your mouse is when you're in the middle of a hectic boss fight. This one specifically though actually has some additional options. For example, you can also track your GCDs, your global cooldowns, so you can tell exactly when a spell is starting and ending. Those are 2 important pieces of information I like to have. But go dig through this thing because it actually would surprise you in how deep cheap and how customizable it really is. The next weak aura I want to talk about, I actually went way more in depth in this video here. And just to let you guys know, we have full-on in-depth installation guides for LVY, best add-on videos to take a look at. So feel free to check out any of those videos after this one if that's something that you're interested in. But we're talking about the DBM or Bigwigs timeline weak aura tracker, and this is going to go hand in hand with your DBM or Bigwigs, and I'm just a huge fan of this as it turns your standard DBM bars into this beautiful clean-cut looking timeline. I think it makes all the raid fights and specific boss mechanics way easier to digest looking at it in this format. It gives you the name, it gives you the time, it gives you a little picture so you could start remembering what looks like what, which is key for me. I feel like it really allows you to learn the boss fights a bit more in depth and much quicker than just having a bar with a timer on it. But again, that's my opinion. Some people love it, some people hate it. Let me know your thoughts on it in the comments below. The next one I want to go over is the Omni CD weak aura, and this is your party's cooldown tracker. This one's super key for a few reasons. You're able to track your party's main defensives, big cooldowns, healing cooldowns, and most importantly, your party's interrupts. So this one weak aura is going to make your life much easier when it comes to any type of dungeon content. This one's a bit more hefty than most, so if you go into the options, there's going to be a plethora of options for you to tinker around with. But depending on what class you are or what you're specifically looking for, you can really customize what you want to track, how you want to track it, and you could decide what information is most important to you. And again, you could change pretty much anything from when you want it to appear in open world. You can make it disappear in PvP, you can have it come back up, you can have it go away in specific areas or specific fights. Whatever you're feeling, this thing has the option for you. Another really neat weak aura that I want to go over for any of the Keystone fanatics out there is going to be the auto marker weak aura, and this allows you to auto mark each pack you're about to approach, so it eliminates all the confusion on who's going to be interrupting what. You can always assign the same person to, say, diamond or star, and they know that character or that enemy is his responsibility. Takes away a lot of the confusion or communication very quickly. Again, there's plenty of options here. You can have it so that you only set the markers when you scroll over their nameplates. You can have it so that after you hit a certain yardage threshold, they'll automatically activate. There's a lot of different options in how you want to set this up. I mean, the world's your oyster when it comes to this thing. It's just a super simple weak aura that takes care of a lot of the brain work and issues when it comes to interrupting any specific targets. Now, the next weak aura is a huge help, and it's the one button world marker weak aura. Now, I know these days we have pings and we could ping all over the place, but the thing is, those don't last forever. And if you're out and about fighting, I don't know, for example, Broodkeeper with all the eggs, there's nothing better than having this weak aura because it's just a simple one key bind and you're allowed to mark everything on the fly super quickly. So if anyone needs a reminder at any time, you can always put a marker down super quickly, which I find key in the middle of a fight or any scenario you find yourself in. And it's just two key binds of your choosing. One key bind is going to be able to set every single marker out at once, and the other key bind will just remove them all. So this is a fantastic weak aura that I think a lot of people don't utilize. And again, it's just something that you could bring to the table where other people are shuffling around trying to explain something, or in the middle of a fight when stuff's getting hectic, you could just take care of business right then and there so other people don't have to. Next up, I gotta mention the Renubar Palace weak aura pack. Now, I'm assuming this is pretty widespread at this point, but I at least gotta mention it. This is giving you a weak aura pack for all the most important notifications that you need per boss in the new raid. It gives you countdowns, it gives you pictures, it lets you know if you need to feed the boss, it lets you know the percentage of how long it takes until that boss is fed. We're talking about the first boss, in case you can't tell. It's telling you if you have dots on you. It's gonna let you know if you could soak again. There's taunt timers. I mean, the list goes on, guys. This is just gonna give you everything you need to make sure you're properly prepared for this raid. And to try to future-proof this video, this is gonna be the case for every single upcoming raid. So no matter what the raid is called moving forward, type in the raid name and then weak aura pack, and you're gonna be taken care of from there. This next weak aura, however, I never see utilized, and it's vitally important. And this is the mark cooldowns on nameplate weak aura. This is gonna show all the most important and dangerous abilities in dungeons and how long until that enemy is able to cast it once more. What do I mean by that? Well, you can see here, this enemy casts a totem, and this totem needs to get blown up or else it's gonna blow you up. So when this enemy starts to cast that ability, you could adjust accordingly, but after that, it gives you a nice cooldown marker on how long it's gonna take for that ability to come back off cooldown once more. So you and your party know that they have a little bit of room to breathe in between each one of these main dangerous abilities. It's incredibly important, even if your entire group doesn't have it and you're all in Discord. As long as one of you does, you could simply make a nice call out like, hey, we got 10 seconds until the next totem comes out, be ready for that. All these little bits and pieces of information put together is what's going to make a super smooth experience compared to just an absolute shit show that I know a lot of us unfortunately have to walk into. Now, I personally main a mage, so I wanted to keep all the mage specific weak auras at the back end of this video, so we're going to start getting into a little bit of those now. So in my opinion, and I would highly consider you try this out, the best weak aura pack for mages in general are the RIPL's Mage Full Weak Aura pack. This is going to cover every single spec, and it's going to cover each of these specs in depth. It's going to track everything that you'd expect it to. It's going to track your blinks, your cooldowns, your shields, your time warps, your invisibilities, whatever it is that you're thinking, it's got you covered. And this brings me right into the brand new Arcane Mage Ether Vision talent weak aura. Since as Arcane Mages were no longer able to double dip, this brand new talent that was introduced in the latest patch is what's going to be simulating that action. And it's a very easy way to track when you should be barraging. On top of this weak aura, another one that's going to be key is the Barrage Helper weak aura. With all the changes going on to the Arcane Mage, it's an absolute lifesaver, especially right now. So if you're having any trouble in grasping when is the correct time to use your barrage, this is going to be your best friend. It's going to glow when you should prioritize that spell barrage, and it takes a lot of the guesswork out of your rotation. Not only that, but it's going to build that muscle memory on when you should be barraging, so you could slowly start moving away from relying on this weak aura and just get back into your natural flow. But this one main mage weak aura pack with the other two little ones on top of it is going to give any beginner or experienced mage a very solid structure to work with. But these are all very easy to use, plug and play weak auras that could honestly change your entire WoW experience and help your team and your friends along the way. I hope you learned something useful in this video. Consider hitting that like button, subscribing, the notification bell, all that jazz, and I'll see you in the next one. Toodles!